The stars were calm. The galaxy was quiet. But war never warned before knocking. Captain Rilani of the Zorthan Empire stood tall on the bridge of her cruiser. Her skin shimmered silver blue under the artificial lights, her eyes sharp with pride. She had just received news that a primitive species from a forgotten corner of the spiral, armed humans, had destroyed an entire Zorthan scouting fleet. How? She muttered, claws tapping the console. They throw metal spears, not plasma warheads. Her science officer, Trilek, shook his head. Unknown, but 3 ships were lost. No survivors. A fixed silence followed. The Zorthan Empire had conquered over 50 races. They had crushed warlords, eaten suns, and erased entire planets. Humans were supposed to be beneath them, barely evolved mammals crawling out of their dirt balls. The only reason the Zorthans even sent scouts was because Earth had started broadcasting strange digital signals into deep space songs, laughter, even something called memes. It was considered a joke mission. Until now. Captain Rilani narrowed her eyes. Prepare the warfleet. Yes, Commander. 4 days later, Rilani's armada entered Earth's orbit. She expected fear. She expected surrender. But Earth did not kneel. A swarm of Terran drones, sleek and fast, flew up to greet them. Within minutes, half of Rilani's fighters were shot down. The rest retreated in confusion. How? She yelled again, watching replay footage. They didn't even use proper targeting systems. But what shocked her most was the pilot. Zoomed-in visuals showed a human woman, maybe in her late 20s, flying a fighter with one hand while sipping coffee with the other. Coffee. Rilani gritted her sharp teeth. I want a specimen, alive. Hours later, a human male prisoner was brought aboard. He was tall, calm, and strangely amused by the whole situation. His name was Dr. Aaron Vale, a xenobiologist, or as he said, a guy who studies weird creatures. Rilani looked him over. You seem oddly relaxed for someone in enemy hands, he shrugged. Because I know you don't understand what you're dealing with. Her brow twitched. Enlighten me, human. Aaron smiled and leaned forward. You think we're primitive because of our machines. But what about biology? Biology? Our weapons are impressive. But our bodies? That's the real miracle. You see, humans aren't just survivors. We're designed for persistence, adaptability, reproduction at insane speeds. Rilani snorted. You mean breeding? Aaron only grinned. We call it reproduction. And it's a system your scientists should study. Rilani rolled her eyes. You're not that special. He leaned back and simply said, You'll see. Later that night, in the ship's lab, Rilani reviewed the reports. Her scientists were already scanning human DNA samples. But something strange showed up in the results. Her lead geneticist called it unnatural. Our scans show a level of microscopic resilience we've never encountered, he explained, eyes wide. Human swimmers, what they call sperm, are faster, more aggressive, and more reactive to foreign environments than anything in our database. They adapt instantly. It's like they're alive with purpose. Rilani frowned. That's just evolution. No, Commander, that's something else. One sample we tested managed to penetrate a triple-sealed Zorthan cell barrier in under 10 seconds. Nothing we have can do that. The room went quiet. Another officer whispered, Are humans trying to breed with everything? The thought made Rilani's stomach twist. Disgusting. Reckless. Yet a strange curiosity crept into her mind. She had mocked human biology all her life. But now she wasn't so sure, and for the first time in her long career, Rilani felt something unexpected. The next day, she returned to Aaron's cell. He was humming a song. Something called Staying Alive. You knew we'd find something, she said coldly. I told you, he said calmly. Your empire is built on fear and power. Ours is built on persistence and passion. You fight with ships. We fight with science and patience. She stared at him. You think your kind is superior? He shook his head. No, just different. Maybe different in ways that scare you. She paused. Then she asked a question she never thought she would ask. Show me. Captain Rilani never entered the biolabs alone. She was a Zorthan commander, strong, noble, above such. Organic. Matters. But today was different. She walked in slowly, eyes locked on the glowing tank in the center of the room. Inside, millions of human microscopic swimmers, as Aaron called them, swirled under the microscope cameras. Rilani turned to the human scientist beside her. Aaron. Vale stood confidently in a clean white lab coat. His eyes gleamed, not with pride, but quiet satisfaction. You really want me to watch this? She asked. He smiled. You said you wanted proof? Rilani looked at the monitor. It showed her own Zorthan cell samples, strong, sealed, reinforced with triple-layered membranes. Their species had evolved to resist every type of foreign intrusion. Then the footage began. The human swimmers attacked, not blindly, not randomly. Searched, surrounded, adapted until one of them found an opening in the Zorthan cell wall and pushed through. The lab filled with gasps. Rilani stared in disbelief. That's impossible. Aaron crossed his arms. It's nature. Our kind has evolved not just to survive, but to infiltrate, adapt, and conquer at the most microscopic level. Rilani leaned in closer. The swimmers weren't just strong, they were intelligent. It was as if they sensed the challenge and responded. With strategy, Zorthan soldiers were bred for war, but humans? Their biology was war. After the test, Rilani sat in silence in the observation room. Her tail twitched slightly, something it hadn't done in years. She wasn't just disturbed. She was curious. Something about the way those tiny human cells moved. It was purposeful. Beautiful, even. She shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. This doesn't mean anything. Just strange data. Aaron stepped in. Still think we're primitive? Rilani didn't answer. Instead, she looked at him, truly looked at his steady posture, calm voice, strange warm eyes. What are humans really after? She asked. He laughed lightly. We're not after domination, Captain. We're after connection. We seek to understand. And sometimes when worlds collide, something new is born. His words lingered longer than she expected. Later that cycle, Rilani received a private message from the Zorthan High Command. Warning: human biology deemed dangerous. All experiments must cease immediately. The Terrans are not to be trusted. Execute prisoner 744, Dr. Vale, at sunrise. Her blood ran cold. Not because of the order, but because a small part of her didn't want to obey it. She read the message again, and then deleted it. In the quiet hours of artificial night, Rilani walked the metallic halls of her ship, her mind spinning. She had led fleets, won battles, outwitted entire civilizations, but nothing had prepared her for this, for curiosity about a man and his microscopic army. She arrived outside Aaron's cell and hesitated. Then, with a breath, she entered. He was seated, reading something on a datapad. A human novel, The Origin of Species. You should sleep, she said. I don't think you came here to tell me that. She hated how right he was. I got an order, she said carefully, to end you. Aaron raised an eyebrow. But I'm still breathing. For now, she said, folding her arms. I disobeyed. He sat up straight, eyes locking with hers. Why? Rilani didn't answer at first. Then she stepped forward. You made me see something I never expected. Something that shifted my thinking. He smiled. Truth has a way of doing that. Then she added, more quietly, and you're not what I thought humans were. Aaron stood and stepped closer to the transparent barrier between them. Then, maybe it's time we show you more. Inside the lab the next day, Aaron brought out a sealed case. What's in there? Rilani asked. A simulation chamber, he said. Sterile, safe, non-living environment. We're going to test something together. She frowned. Together? Aaron nodded. You provide a Zorthan cell sample. I'll provide a human sample. Let's see what happens when two species meet in a neutral field. It felt too personal, too close, but her scientific mind couldn't resist. I agree, she said. The samples were prepared, inserted, and sealed. Rilani and Aaron watched side by side as the chamber lit up. Tiny swimmers entered. Zorthan cells responded, but this time, something strange happened. They didn't attack. They circled each other, examined, probed gently, and then began to connect. Rilani whispered, they're communicating. Aaron looked at her with a soft expression. Or trying to. In that moment, Rilani felt something inside her shift, something ancient, something new. She didn't just see humans as equals now, she saw them as potential for something powerful and deeply dangerous. Not because of weapons, but because of what might happen. If their biology ever mixed for real, asterisk for the next 12 hours, the sealed chamber glowed with soft pulses of life. Zorthan and human cells floated in perfect balance. No war, no destruction, only interaction. What began as a scientific experiment now looked more like a silent conversation between two ancient forces. Captain Rilani stood frozen, her sharp eyes locked on the screen. Nothing in the Empire had prepared her for this. In all her years commanding fleets and crushing rebellions, she had never seen cooperation at this level, not even among Zorthan factions. Aaron stood beside her, arms crossed but heart racing. He broke the silence. They're bonding. Rilani replied slowly, but they're not supposed to. Our biology should reject yours. This shouldn't happen. Yet it was happening. The combined structure forming in the simulation chamber looked alive new, not purely Zorthan, not purely human. Something else. A hybrid. One of her science officers stepped in with a report. Commander, the genetic readout shows increased efficiency, faster healing response, stronger immunity, greater cellular memory. Rilani's jaw tightened. What are you saying? The officer looked nervous. If this result happened in a living subject, the offspring would be stronger than either parent species. A silence fell over the room. Aaron whispered, and now you see why your high command is afraid. Hours later, Rilani sat alone in her private quarters. She stared at the small sample tube still glowing softly from the tester cell. His sample. She had always believed the Zorthans were the peak of evolution. Perfect, cold, complete. But now, she wasn't sure. Human biology wasn't just adaptable, it was emotional. Driven by connection, by chaos, by desire. Something she'd always seen as weakness, but now suspected was power. She clenched her jaw. Is that what they fear? She muttered to herself. That something new could rise from both of us? The thought made her shiver, because part of her didn't fear it. Part of her was drawn to it. The next morning, alarms blared through the ship. A coded signal from Zorthan High Command had been intercepted. They had learned about the hybrid test, and they were sending a dreadnought to destroy the cruiser. Wipe the evidence. Erase the risk. Rilani's bridge crew looked to her in panic. Orders, Commander? She stood firm. They fear what we've discovered, but fear is not reason. They'll destroy us. Not if we leave first. She turned to her navigator. Prepare a jump. Deep space. Uncharted. Someone gasped. That's exile. Rilani's voice didn't shake. It's evolution. Deep in the brig, Aaron waited. He had heard the alarms, felt the tremble in the ship's bones. When Rilani entered, her expression was unreadable. "They're coming," she said. "To erase everything." Aaron didn't flinch. "You knew this would happen," she nodded. "They're afraid of what I've become." He looked into her eyes. "What we created." There was a long pause. Then she deactivated the force field, stepping into the cell. For a second, both of them just stood there, not as enemies, not as test subjects, as something else. Rilani spoke quietly. "If we run, we live. If we stay, we die. And if we run together?" Aaron asked. Her answer came in the form of a command. "Follow me." As the stars stretched into lines during the emergency jump, the ship slipped into a space no Zorthan vessel had ever entered. A quiet sector, unmapped, peaceful. On board, Rilani and Aaron stood in the observation deck, watching the glowing dust swirl outside. Rilani turned to him. "I don't know what this is, human. This bond. This connection." Aaron smiled. "We don't have to name it. Let it grow." She looked away, her voice softer than ever. "You changed something inside. You changed something in our species." Their fingers touched for the first time, bare skin to bare skin, and for both of them, the world shifted. 2 days later, Rilani's top scientist approached with a new report. "Commander, we ran deeper simulations." She raised a brow. "And?" The scientist's voice shook. "The hybrid model is stable, stronger, more adaptive than anything we've seen. If real conception were to happen." Rilani's eyes narrowed. "What are you saying?" The scientist swallowed. "A human Zorthan offspring is no longer theory. It's possible. Maybe even inevitable." Rilani's heart pounded, because she had already felt a change in her body. A strange warmth, a flutter in her chest. An instinct, ancient and undeniable. And suddenly, she knew it had already begun. Captain Rilani stood in front of the mirror inside her private chamber, her silver blue skin glowing faintly under the low light. She placed a hand on her abdomen, feeling something unfamiliar, something alive. No pain. No sickness. Just warmth. And change. It had been only days since the test, only days since she'd touched the human. And now her body was responding in ways no Zorthan medical training could explain. She knew it deep inside. She was no longer alone in her body. Outside, the cruiser drifted quietly through uncharted space. The crew had not questioned her since the jump. But whispers spread. The commander had changed. The human had changed her. And then the rumors began about the experiment, about what really happened in the lab, and about what could now be growing inside the most feared Zorthan female in the fleet. Aaron waited in the observation lounge. He turned as she entered, noticing the stiffness in her walk. "You okay?" he asked softly. Rilani didn't answer at first. She stood beside him, looking out into the stars. Then she said, "I need your help." Aaron's brow furrowed. "Tell me." She placed her hand over her stomach again. He blinked. "Are you saying?" She nodded once. It started. The next hours were filled with quiet panic. Rilani had her trusted medic scan her again privately. Results were impossible. Her vitals were strong, but her hormonal structure had changed. A second heart rhythm was detected. Not hers, something was growing. Something with both Zorthan and human code. A hybrid. The medic trembled as he looked at her. This. This will shake the Empire. Rilani met his eyes. It must never reach the Empire. In the dark corners of the ship, not all crew were loyal. One Zorthan officer, Jurl, sent a silent signal to the High Command using a stolen relay node. His message was simple. The commander carries a human hybrid. Send judgment. Back in her quarters, Rilani sat alone, her mind spinning. She had fought in wars, lost comrades, stood against monsters, but nothing had ever scared her like this. Inside her grew a symbol of everything the Zorthans had taught her to hate, and yet she felt no hate. She felt hope. Aaron entered quietly. You don't have to do this alone. She looked up at him. This being, it's not just a new life, it's a new future. One that our species might not accept. He nodded. But maybe it's one they need. Rilani whispered, I never thought I would be the one to carry change. Aaron reached out, gently placing his hand over hers. You're not just carrying change, he said. You're becoming it. But peace did not last. The next day, a sensor alert blared across the ship. An Imperial dreadnought had entered the system. The message was clear. Surrender the human and the experiment, or be destroyed. Rilani slammed her fist on the console. They found us. Aaron's jaw tightened. You said the ship was fast. It is. But not fast enough to outrun a dreadnought. Not forever. She turned to her crew. Prepare the jump drive. We need time. Then she looked at Aaron. And we need to hide you. He didn't argue. As the ship veered into a nearby asteroid field, Rilani activated a cloaking field and hid Aaron in a stasis pod deep inside the medical bay. If the worst happened, she wanted him preserved. She placed her hand on the glass. If I fail, the future dies with me. Aaron placed his hand over hers from the inside. Then don't fail. The dreadnought hailed them, a high-ranking Imperial. Voice echoed through the bridge. Rilani of Zorthan, you are accused of biological treason. You will be dismantled. The creature you carry will be purged. The bridge crew looked to her, waiting. Rilani stood slowly, spine straight, voice calm. This ship and its crew are no longer Zorthan. We are evolution. Then she cut the signal and turned to her navigator. Take us into the storm. As the ship plunged into a dense electromagnetic storm, enemy sensors scrambled. The dreadnought's weapons struggled to lock on. Rilani sat in her chair, one hand pressed over her growing abdomen, the other gripping the command controls. She whispered to herself, I will protect this life. I don't care what I have to. Destroy to do it. Asterisk lightning storms danced across the asteroid field as Captain Rilani's cruiser darted between massive jagged rocks. Outside, glowing energy clouds flashed blue and white, hiding the ship from enemy sensors for now. But Rilani knew they couldn't hide forever. She stared at the hollow screen in front of her. The Imperial dreadnought loomed behind them like a shadow of doom, too large to enter the asteroid field completely, but still tracking. They'll wait, she muttered. Wait until we come out for air. Her second officer, Nira, nodded. They sent another message, Commander. They said they'll wipe every life form aboard if we don't hand over the human and the embryo. Rilani's fist tightened. She stood, her voice calm but sharp. We are no longer part of their empire. We don't follow their laws, and we don't surrender life to death. The bridge fell silent. Even the skeptical crew felt something shift. They were no longer Zorthan soldiers. They were something else. Now outcasts, protectors of the unknown. Deep in the ship's medical bay, Aaron Vale remained hidden inside the stasis pod. His heart rate was steady. He dreamed of Earth, of starlight, of Rilani's silver blue eyes and the soft warmth of her touch. He didn't know what was happening outside, but he trusted her. Completely. Meanwhile, not everyone on board felt the same. Jural, the Zorthan officer, who had secretly contacted High Command, now moved through the lower decks with quiet steps and cold intentions. In his hand was a disruptor, blade. He wasn't just loyal to the Empire. He believed the hybrid was an abomination. He whispered to himself, better dead than born. In the command chamber, Rilani suddenly felt it, an instinct sharpened by years of battle. Danger. Where's Jurl? She asked. Nira tapped the ship tracker. His ID isn't broadcasting. He's offline. Rilani's voice dropped. Security seal. All medbay access, now. But it was too late. Jurl had already reached the pod. He stared at the stasis chamber holding Aaron, then glanced at the nearby medical scanner displaying Rilani's vitals. His hand hovered over the emergency override panel. Then the doors slid open behind him. Rilani stood there, disruptor in hand, her face unreadable. You sent the signal, she said coldly. Jurl turned slowly, not surprised. The child you carry is poison, he growled. It will end us. Rilani didn't blink. No, it will. Remake us. He lunged. She was faster. Her shot hit his shoulder, sending him crashing into the pod controls. Sparks flew. Systems blinked red. Aaron's pod hissed. Stasis release initiated. The pod opened slowly, steam hissing from the vents. Aaron blinked, confused, then saw Rilani standing over a groaning Jurl. Did I miss something? He muttered. Sitting up, Rilani turned, breathing hard. He tried to kill you. Aaron looked at the medic's console. Is the baby okay? She moved quickly to check. A few long seconds passed, then she sighed in relief. Still strong, still alive. Aaron smiled faintly. Takes after you then. With Jurl restrained and the hybrid still safe, the ship returned to silent running. But the storm was ending. They were out of hiding, and the dreadnought was waiting. The warning lights turned red. Enemy lock, weapons charging, jump drive still rebooting. The navigator called. We need 5 minutes. Rilani stepped forward. Then buy me 5 minutes. The cruiser turned to face the enemy. Rilani activated every decoy, every flare, every echo pulse in the ship system. Explosions burst in space as enemy weapons fired blindly into the stormy field. She flew straight through them. Weapon systems, she ordered. Fire one shot right at the sensor eye. The ship's main cannon lit up. Boom. A single bolt slammed into the dreadnought. Sensor tower. It wasn't enough to hurt the giant, but it blinded it. The dreadnought fired blindly, missing completely. Jump. Drive ready. Nira shouted. Rilani gave the command. The stars stretched. The cruiser disappeared into the void. Silence returned. Inside her quarters, Rilani sat on the edge of her bed, her hand resting gently over her abdomen. Aaron stood nearby. Quiet, he finally asked, What are we going to do now? Rilani looked up at him. We run. We hide, and we prepare for a future they'll try to destroy. Aaron stepped closer. Then let's build it together. They sat side by side, staring into the dark stars beyond the window. A child was growing. Hybrid unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, and the Empire would stop at nothing to erase it. But Rilani would stop at nothing to protect it. Asterisk. The cruiser drifted silently near a dying star in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. No signals. Number. Patrols. No Empire. Only light and silence. Captain Rilani sat alone in the ship's medbay, staring at the glowing screen. There it was again, the second heartbeat inside her. Steady, strong, not fully Zorthan. Not fully human. Something new. Her fingers trembled slightly over the console. Not from fear. From weight. The weight of what this child meant. Aaron entered quietly, holding a small pouch of nutrient paste. You skipped your meal again. She didn't look up. I'm not hungry. You need strength. For both of you. Rilani finally sighed and took the pouch. As she ate, she glanced at him. Do you ever think, maybe this was a mistake? Aaron didn't answer right away. Then he stepped closer. This isn't a mistake. It's evolution. You said it yourself. The Empire is afraid of change, but you're the one leading it. She looked at the screen again. They'll never stop hunting us. Not as long as this child exists, Aaron nodded. Then maybe it's time we stop running. Later that cycle, Rilani gathered her remaining loyal crew. Nira, her second in command, spoke first. We have food, power, and fuel. But we can't live like this forever, Commander. Are we looking for allies? Or a place to disappear? Rilani didn't answer immediately. Then she walked to the hollow map and pointed at a red zone marked Forbiddance, Precursor Ruins. What's that? Aaron asked. An ancient world? Buried tech. Old science. Off limits to all empires. But if anyone can hide us, or help us finish what began, it's there, Nira frowned. And if it's cursed like the stories say? Rilani's eyes were calm. Then we find out if legends are stronger than the truth. The journey took 4 days. The planet was dark and storm-wrapped, orbiting a black sun. Giant towers of stone and steel pierced the skies. Strange lights pulsed beneath the surface. Rilani's ship landed on a high ridge. The sensors screamed interference. No signal could escape this place. Perfect. They entered the ruins with caution. Aaron carried a scanning tool. Rilani had her weapon drawn. Her hand rested on her belly more often now, an instinctive shield. Inside the ruins, strange machines still hummed. Ancient terminals sparked when touched. Holograms flickered to life, showing alien shapes, symbols, DNA patterns from species long extinct. Aaron stared at one display. They were experimenting with hybrid life, like us. Rilani stepped closer. But they failed. Or maybe they succeeded, and left something behind. Deep in the heart of the ruins, they found it, a room, sealed tight for millions of years. Inside was a cradle built not of metal or stone, but of living light. The walls lit up as Rilani stepped inside. Her body responded. The hybrid inside her responded. The light wrapped around her, welcoming her. Aaron's eyes widened. It's not just a cradle. It's a forge. This place was built to help birth something new. The light scanned her belly. The hybrid heartbeat echoed through the room. Then a choice appeared on the ancient console. 2 options. Terminate anomaly. Complete evolution. Rilani froze. The words felt like thunder in her skull. 1 button to erase everything. To end the chase, the pain, the danger. The other? To finish what began. But once chosen, there was no return. Aaron looked at her. You don't have to do this alone. Rilani stepped toward the console. Her hand hovered. Her breath slowed. Then she whispered, If they fear this child, it must be powerful. If they hate what we are, it means we matter. Her fingers pressed the second option. Complete evolution. The chamber responded. Light flared. Machines awakened. A shield of energy wrapped around her, scanning her body cell by cell. Pain shot through her, brief and deep, but she didn't scream. Her hands clenched. Her jaw locked. Aaron reached for her, but a field of light held him back. Rilani's body arched as the ancient system accelerated the process. The hybrid inside her grew faster. Stronger. Stable. Then it ended. She dropped to her knees. Gasping but alive. Her belly had changed. It no longer held a mere flicker of life. It now held a force the galaxy had never known. A life no empire could control. Aaron rushed to her side, holding her up. Are you okay? Rilani nodded weakly. It's done. The forge accepted it. Outside the ruin, thunder roared as if the stars themselves had felt the change. Aaron looked into her glowing eyes. You're not just a soldier anymore. You're the mother of the next step. Rilani stood slowly. Stronger than ever. No, she said. I am the beginning. The planet shook. Ancient machines hummed louder. Lightning lit the skies above the ruins. Something had changed, and the galaxy felt it. In the heart of the forgotten forge, Captain Rilani stood tall, glowing faintly with energy that was not hers alone. Inside her, the hybrid had grown faster than natural, no longer just a child, but a force waiting to enter the world. Aaron looked at her, breathless. "It's almost time," Rilani nodded. "We must protect this moment, no matter the cost." But they were not alone. A red light flashed on the surface scanner. Nira's voice echoed through their comms. "Commander, a Zorthan dreadnought has entered orbit. They followed us." Rilani's eyes narrowed. She had expected this. She welcomed it. The Empire's ship hung above like a dark god, massive and unyielding. Dropships poured out, descending toward the ruins with blinding speed. Elite Zorthan soldiers, cold and ruthless, marched toward the cradle chamber. Inside, Rilani turned to Aaron. "Help me to the defensive ring. I'll hold them." He stepped forward. "You're in no condition to fight." She looked him in the eyes. "I am in perfect condition to protect what's mine." Aaron didn't argue. He helped her into armor, lightweight, reinforced, fitted for her changing form. She drew her blade. "Activate the forge's shield." Aaron pressed the control. A shimmering dome of light covered the central chamber. Then Rilani stood at the entrance and waited. The first soldiers arrived with plasma rifles raised. Rilani didn't give them time to speak. She moved like a storm. 1/2 down. 1 pulse, 3 more gone. She wasn't fighting for empire or duty anymore. She was fighting as a mother, a protector, a creator. Her movements were precise, powerful, almost inhuman, because now she was something more. Behind the shield, Aaron monitored the forge's systems. The hybrid's vitals were strong. The birth was nearing. He watched her on the monitors, fighting wave after wave. She was outnumbered, but she wasn't losing. She was becoming a legend. But then Juril appeared again, freed by the Empire. Stepped through the smoke with rage in his eyes. "You should have died on your knees," he spat. "You betrayed your kind." Rilani raised her blade. "No, I evolved beyond it." He lunged. The fight was brutal. Blades clashed. Sparks flew. He wounded her shoulder. She cut his leg. But Juril was desperate, and desperation is dangerous. He tackled her to the ground. Raised his blade to her throat, then stopped. A pulse of light burst from her chest, pure, warm, and overwhelming. Jurl froze. His blade shook. He looked into her eyes, and for the first time understood. He dropped the weapon. "I see now," he whispered. "What you carry, it's not a monster, it's a miracle." Then a Zorthan soldier shot him in the back. Rilani caught him as he fell. He smiled one last time. "Protect it." Then he died in her arms. Alarms blared inside the forge. Aaron shouted, "It's time! The hybrid is coming!" Rilani limped into the chamber. The cradle surrounded her in light. She lay back as the energy pulsed, guiding the birth. No pain. No screaming. Just warmth and peace. Minutes passed. Then the light dimmed. A soft sound echoed. A new heartbeat. "Join the galaxy." Aaron stepped forward, stunned. Cradled in Rilani's arms was a child. Skin shimmered between silver and human tan. Eyes glowing faintly like starlight. A perfect blend. A child of war and hope. A child of 2 worlds. Above, the dreadnought charged its main cannon. High Command had ordered complete erasure, but before they fired, the planet itself responded. Energy burst from the forge and shot into orbit. The dreadnought systems crashed, weapons disabled, engines dead. The planet had chosen. The Empire was denied. In the days that followed, Rilani and Aaron buried Juril with honor. The remaining crew pledged loyalty not to an empire, but to the child. Word began to spread across outlaw channels. The Zorthan commander gave birth to something new. The Empire tried to stop it and failed, and across space, others began to hope. Other hybrids, other unions, other futures. Rilani stood in the observation deck, holding the child in her arms. Aaron stood beside her. What will we name her? He asked. Rilani looked into the child's glowing eyes. Nova, she whispered, because she was born from a dying star. And she burned brighter than all of them. Aaron smiled. She's going to change everything, Rilani nodded. She already has.